Bangkok ChitChat Spotlight.
Hello, welcome along to Bangkok ChitChat Spotlight. My name's Andy Francis, and with me, as always, my co-host, Andrew Sloan. Today we're going to have a chit-chat about education, school teaching in England and in Thailand, similarities and differences. And on the chairs today, we have from England, Angela Roberts.
It's lovely to be here, thank you.
Nice to have you. Joe Roman from Bangkok.
Yes, thank you, Andy.
First question.
Okay. All right, so just trying to get an idea of why they became a teacher in the first place. So what you've been teaching for 13 years? Yeah?
Yes, in Thailand.
In Thailand,
Yes.
yeah. So why did you want to become a teacher?
Well, out of necessity, really. I moved to Thailand in 2007 and quickly blew through my savings in about a year and realized I needed work.
Easily done.
I came here, I should say that I came here for a woman.
Right, okay.
I met my wife now on social media and flew out here to meet her, physically. And then we fell in love and I decided I want to live in Thailand with her and start a family.
You got a young kid, yeah?
Yes, I do have. We have a 3-year-old child.
Right,
Yes.
okay.
And I thought, what can I do? There aren't many. I don't have a real definitive skill, so to speak. I've done many jobs in New York City, but I actually come from a theater and film background. But working in film production here wouldn't. I mean, they can hire a Thai to do what I would be able to do.
Extra or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that.
But I didn't want to go down that path because it's not consistent, and then you have problems with the visas and work permits and things like that. So I thought a lot of people do is they just come here and teach. So I got my TEFL certificate and started teaching.
Right. And you just kept going from there?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So yourself?
Yes, I've been teaching now for 12 years. Before I was a teacher, I was a teaching assistant, but I didn't have the qualifications at the time to become a teacher. And I sat there and I thought, I can actually do that job. I want to be a teacher. I want to stand and teach. So I basically went back to university, got all my qualifications, and yes.
So why did you become a teacher?
I just love teaching. I love to share the knowledge that I have with others. And I love to be able to, get the children to learn new things. And that light bulb moment they have when they go, yes, I get that. You've explained something. And it's just a lovely, lovely feeling that you get at teaching.
That light bulb moment.
It is. And
It is the most rewarding thing, I think.
What about you, Joe? What made you go into? I mean, you said because of you didn't want to do.
I think for me it was kind of a reversal. I started out of necessity. I needed income to live and survive, and then it grew on me, and then I really enjoyed it, and I thought this is actually some of the greatest thing.
It's like being on stage when you're a teacher, right?
Well, you do kind of
Entertain, yeah.
You have your classroom, and they're like your audience, so to speak, and so you do have a lot of control. And
right. So what are you actually teaching? Are you teaching English? Are you teaching life skills? Are you teaching what?
yeah, all of the above, actually.
Right.
I'm currently in an IB PYP school, so it's a lot different than what I was teaching prior to this. So
Right.
it's I don't know if you're familiar with the International Baccalaureate
Absolutely.
program.
My daughter went through it. I think
Okay.
it's absolutely fantastic.
Yes, it's an education that is student centered, right? So there are a lot of things that we have to bring to the classroom that are just not like teaching kids by rote things that they should memorize and spit back out. So where the IB program is centered on a bunch of skills that the.
When my daughter was learning it, I found that it was giving more the practical side of learning, how you could actually apply it in real life,
Right.
As opposed to just learning from a textbook. But
Right.
the other thing is that do you feel that where you are now, you both are, do you find that it's sort of reached your professional expectations, or do you think, well, not quite, we're not there yet?
I think really you can always try and, make things better, make your lessons better, try and reinvent new ways of teaching and learning. But generally speaking, I agree with Joe, we have a very broad curriculum, so we cover so much that, it's trying to really, get the children to learn a variety of skills rather than just homing in on you need to learn these things and these things. It's just...
Does your curriculum change from, I was going to say season to season? This is not a sports program. So from year to year, academic year, do you have... This is what this is the way we do it this year, then we'll change it around for the. Although you're teaching the same age, are there
Yes.
new things put into what you have to do?
Well,
or-
in the UK, we have to follow the national curriculum. So as long as we are teaching to fulfil those objectives by the time they leave primary school, then we can decide which topics to teach. We can have like about the ancient Greeks, we can do maths outside, we can have forest schools, we can do all sorts of things.
But someone's telling you this is the way you have to
The
go. You
government.
can't do it on your own.
No, the government.
How in
tell us.
Thailand is that the same? Or?
Well, for an IB school, we have to follow the IB curriculum,
yeah,
so to
yeah.
speak, and then we also have to integrate the Thai curriculum as well.
All right. All right. So you have to follow. This is what you've got to teach.
But how we teach it, how we deliver it, can be very different between school to school.
Right. So from your side, from the Thai side, you previously taught in a bilingual school,
Yes,
and now you're working in an international school.
yes.
Right. How do you see the difference between the two with regards to the approach to education, teacher support, etc.? I mean, UK is very much controlled, very much, to the
Yes.
point that many teachers have turned around and said, we're doing so much paperwork and blah, 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 and checklists and things, is it taking away from the teaching, which we'll come to later on. Yeah? But how do you see the difference between the bilingual, which is based around the Thai curriculum, against the IB, which is based around international grouping with certain subjects you must teach for Thai? Yeah?
Sure. In my previous schools, which were like EP programs, I would always try to go like out of the box, so to speak, and because they had told me in the beginning that, oh no, you can have a lot of control of your classroom,
Leeway.
a lot of leeway,
Yeah.
And then once I started doing that, they were observing me, and then by the end of the term, they'd say, "Oh, teacher, you haven't finished the workbook. You haven't finished the student book, and you need to make sure every page is filled in and corrected." And then I would push back a bit, and they were like, "No, make sure everything in the book is finished, this and that." And I said, "But in the beginning of the year, you told me that I would have some autonomy in the classroom." But they're very strict about that. They say that the complaints come from the parents, but in the IB school, it's very much student-led learning, so we have a lot more time to.
But do you have more rote within the Thai school?
Yes, absolutely.
And
Yes, and
this is
standardized
one of the things that
testing
I observed, and even through other Thais, an awful lot was what the teacher says is always correct. Don't answer back. Just follow, repeat after me. Yeah. Now maybe that's changed, and I hope it has, because one of the skills within the workforce that you're looking for is people who to approach a problem and start thinking about the problem, and don't be scared to give an opinion. Just
That would be more.
participate. Yeah.
Sorry, that would be more with the Thai teachers. Absolutely.
Right.
They're very old-fashioned in their thinking about education. But with the foreign teachers, they give us a little bit more leeway. But
So you have like teaching inspectors that come round? How does that work? Can you explain that?
Yes, we have Ofsted, which are basically the inspectors that come round and observe teachers, and they'll spend a few days in our schools, and they'll be looking at all the books, they'll be looking at teaching, management. So we do have some pressures to obviously meet the expectations that they're looking for
What
as
happens
well.
if you don't meet their expectations?
Then you fail as a school. You go into special measures.
Or
and-
as a teacher or as a school?
As a school.
Oh,
yes, 'cause
not
the-
as a teacher?
Well, no, not as a teacher individually. You work as a team. So if the school comes out as a grade of, unsatisfactory.
So
then,
if you've got
you know.
like 10 teachers, 9 are brilliant, 1 is bad, it's going to bring the whole team down?
No, it won't do that. No.
That'd be
But if they,
unfair.
no, absolutely, yeah. Well, But
same with the IB.
Yeah, well, how does-
we'll
yeah.
have IB
Yeah.
inspectors come in, like I think every 3 years. I'm not sure. Again, let me say that this is only my first year with an IB school, so
Right.
I don't know
Well,
everything.
it
but they
really
do
comes
send
down to
inspectors
first
down.
impressions.
Yeah.
If you feel this approach of problem solving or practical side is more beneficial to the student, which leads on to, and you're both teaching in primary side, it leads on to training for secondary, and of course in university the big shock is your teacher tells your lecturer gives you information, and it's up to you to go and get the additional information
Yes.
and research. Yeah. Now IB teaches you that. I know
Yes.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very
and
much
the
so,
UK
yeah.
does.
Absolutely.
But within the Thai education system, which I'm sure is very good in its own right, yeah, it needs adjustment. Let's say diplomatically. Yeah.
How do you get on with parental cooperation, involvement. I think I know what the answer is, but I want to ask you, in your school,
Yes.
how good is it? How bad is it? Is it?
No, in my school, it's very good. I mean, we have parents' evenings 3 times a year, but we can speak to the parents on the playground. There's a very
do
good
they speak to
rapport.
you?
Absolutely, they'll come up to us if there's any problems. So we do have a good parental support within our school, and homework gets done. But there will be some where it's not quite so good.
They don't
you know.
mind. They don't really
mind.
care.
No,
'Cause
they
it's
won't.
free.
Exactly, they won't hear the children read or help with their spellings, or
What about you, Joe? Is that how's the parents?
For my
in it?
school, the parent involvement is pretty strong.
Is it?
We use an app. It's called Seesaw, and we are constantly updating. Actually, we post every day pictures and what we've done for that day. And I think like with everyone, it's hit or miss. Some parents, they don't want to get involved.
So similar.
And some
It's very
parents
similar.
are very, very
Yeah.
much hands-on.
And that was the same in bilingual, yeah? The bilingual school? Everyone was very, very active?
Yeah, no, not so much.
Because I know in a lot of
Not a lot
schools,
of parent
the
involvement.
parents have to, nowadays, it happened with my son, I had to sign a contract with the school. And I had a list of things that I actually had to do, make sure the homework is done, go through the homework with them, blah, 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 blah. And they had the right to dismiss my child if I didn't keep to that contract. I guess in primary, which is what you teach, that doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't happen at all. So we set homework, we give out the homework, and some children do it,
What
and some
comes
don't.
back, comes back.
Absolutely.
It was one of the things about the IB program is that they try to build a community of learners. So the education goes beyond the classroom, and it goes out towards the community.
The community.
Yes, it goes from the students, peers, teachers, out to the parents, and then we do community work as well.
And that's the same in the bilingual school? I'm trying to sort of see the difference between the
I don't recall
Thai
much
system,
of that happening. Some of the parents do get involved. Don't get me wrong, but the IB program, it's part of what we do for IB is we extend outside of the school to build a community of learners. The IB mission statement is to actually try and build a more just and world that's. I forget the IB mission statement already. To build a more peaceful world is in there. So
Okay,
it goes
so
beyond,
not-
it goes beyond the
goes beyond the
classroom.
parents and the family.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's
It's for the wider
important.
community, so it's those life skills again, to
Yes.
actually go out and learn.
Yes, the
how to be
IB
good
is
citizens.
teaching kids not just to learn, but how to learn.
Exactly.
Which
Right,
is
okay.
well, the next question is good. I don't know if you want to answer it. I don't know if it is the next question, but it leads on nicely about discipline.
Yes, within the discipline in the schools, right, for example, I'm sure you're going to be the same.
Well, don't go back
There
to
was,
us. No.
well, basically, I mean, if we did something wrong, we had that double-thonged belt.
Yeah, or the strap, or the cane, or the slipper.
Well, that was our strap. It was about that thick, that length. Yeah. And we had one teacher who was an art teacher, and he liked a tipple now and again, and he used to put whiskey across the belt. Yeah. So I thought it was a waste of whiskey. You could just give me that to dull the pain. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So he was a sadist, obviously.
he would basically belt you, and then also we were one of the last schools to stop the cane, and I used to get regularly caned. Not that I'm really into that now, but as a kid we'd go.
We'll stop that one there.
But
Move
anyway,
on.
yes.
I remember he caned, and I had marks down my thigh.
Yeah, same.
Well, I'm
same,
pleased to
same.
say it's very different now.
I could
None
tell
of
I was
that.
in a gym class because I
Actually,
get hit
but
by.
my point actually was, and some people watching this will agree or absolutely disagree, was the belt. I just thought it was. There should be some kind of punishment. This 100 lines I must not was a total waste.
Detention.
And the belt, I don't know. I just think that there should be some more.
I think the way
Discipline.
we look at it now is trying to give rewards to children. So rather than discipline them in a negative way, you say, if you are well behaved, if you get on with your work, you can get these rewards.
Right.
So we're turning it round really, rather than just telling them off, or you can't go out to play, you've got detention. We're trying to turn it around.
So if a kid comes along and they've done something wrong in the class, say if they start fighting in the classroom or something like that, or chucking things around, and they're just becoming unruly. How do you deal with that in the UK?
It is very difficult. You know, you will have to just obviously speak to them quite harshly and get them to sit somewhere quietly, maybe think about their behaviour, and you're trying to make them understand within themselves that that is
You
unacceptable.
can't sort of sit them in a corner with a dunce cap on and
No,
say,
definitely not.
well, that's not violent.
No.
So you have to sort
No,
of try
'cause
to
you're-
explain to an 8-year-old that this is not right.
Absolutely.
God, dear, you must
That-
have patience of a
It
saint.
is difficult. It is difficult.
And if
But
they turn around and tell you to, beep,
sometimes, not quite.
And then
but,
what would you? Well, so say that they're not receptive for your teaching of how they should do it. What do you do with them?
Well, I mean,
Complain to their parents?
I have done, yes. I'm going to have to speak to your parents. That normally gets them a little bit, straightened up and back into order. But obviously going over to the headmaster.
And what
So-
does he do?
Oh.
Oh, they go and see the headmaster.
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right,
Yeah. And
See
then-
the boss.
Yeah, see the boss.
Well, I'm teaching K1, so we're talking 3-4-year-olds.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm more like a father. So
Yeah.
And I do, excuse me, I do see kids fighting over toys or something, and I just get right between them and just try to
Yeah.
just say, hey, we want to share, okay? And it's not nice to fight over something, and separate them and tell them that we're all friends. And so it's just like being a father,
Right,
really,
right.
for,
I think
for
when the
20
kids
kids.
get older, it's more difficult.
yeah, 20
Yeah.
kids, my goodness.
Yeah.
I sort of feel like we're still doing that though with 10-year-olds. That's what I'm doing. Just calm down.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's talk about it.
different
Let's sort
strategies,
it out.
sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So no, there's no corporal punishment at all.
Oh, absolutely not.
See, I
Absolutely.
remember there's one time where we were, my aunt is a teacher, and she was also teaching people who arrived in the UK, and I said, how do you manage the students? Well, this voice came across, and it was really quite strong and firm, and my mum, my two sisters, and we all sat there to attention. It was the confidence, the direction of the voice was enough. And I don't believe in corporal punishment as such, but I think in schools, I know what I was like. I deserved every belting I got, probably, but it didn't actually change me, I must admit. So coming back to your point, it's correct, is how you can motivate a child to change their or teenager, to change their attitude
And
the effect of what they're doing now.
Have you got any
Definitely.
stories of like parents coming to you and saying, "Oh, you spoke angrily at my little Susan" or whatever?
Yes, I have done in the past actually, because what happens is the children will then go home and the parents say, well, how was your day?
Oh, right.
And of course they may tell a slightly different version of how they were behaving. So I do get parents who
So
call
then
up
you-
and speak to me and say, oh, you spoke to my child.
And then you'll say why.
And then I have to just
God,
explain
you've got to
why.
be on your toes, haven't you?
So what do you
You've got to remember
So
all
what do you
this.
actually do? So if a child, let's just forget the primary side, just you'll know what happens in secondary as well. But is it things like right, you speak to them, if they do something wrong, they're sent to headmaster, or they get detention, or what punishments are there today?
In primary school, very few. It might be missing playtime. So sitting outside the headmaster's office with a book,
Yeah, sure.
just taking some time out.
While all their
and-
friends are playing in the
Absolutely.
yard. Yeah, I can
And that's a
imagine
big
that.
deal for
Yeah.
children
Yeah.
in primary
Right.
school. They're missing out on their fun things. Like I say, it's trying to give the rewards to children that are well behaved so that other children miss out if they're not.
So like come home
well-behaved.
and do your homework, and then I'll allow you half an hour on the
Absolutely.
iPad or
What about
whatever.
truancy and
Absolutely.
things like that?
No, we don't have.
Well,
that in
you would.
our-
I mean, at that young age, the
No.
parents are dropping them off. But
Right.
you're fully responsible. I mean, I watched it at one school from my village back in the UK, and the parents come and they wait outside, 8:30. Yeah, then they can bring the kids in. Now you go to another school, they take them into the compound, and they drop them off, and there's security and everything there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not because they're expecting someone to go bomb the place, but basically keep the kids in because
Security is very tight
responsible
with
for them.
my school. Absolutely, all the parents have to wear ID cards, and then once they come onto the school grounds, I start at 7:30, so they're allowed in. And even if they dropped off a little bit earlier, there's always someone there, the guards or a lot of the Thai teachers show up really early, so there'll be a classroom where they can sit and wait.
Joe, you mentioned that you were teaching at the moment, although you've taught different age groups, of course. You're
Yes.
now with the 3.5, whatever. Do you find, which must be frustrating because you're still a teacher, right? And you still want to get that light bulb moment and whatever, and I'm sure you do. But do you feel like you're sort of like filling in the gaps for like the parents are using you to be the nanny, to do
The
they
minder.
Yeah. You did mention that before. That's
We
why,
do get that. Some of the parents work.
This is bilingual, and because I know
Yes.
IB is a paying school, yeah, but bilingual is
Yes,
you're
it is.
probably
Yes,
paying
it
about
is. It is.
50,000 for bilingual a year, or 100,000. If we go into an international school, you're probably talking about 400,000 or 500,000, 600,000 a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
So compare the two. Yeah.
Well, his question was about the parents, right?
Yeah.
Some of the parents work, like they both work, mom and dad. So they'll get dropped off early as possible.
Which is what time do they start?
7:30.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and then they'll stay late.
Oh, right.
Now,
Which is
because
not the
I'm
school time.
officially finished at actually my last class is at 11 o'clock, so I only have 6 teaching hours
At
a
night.
week. 11 a.m. and I'm finished. Well, because with 3-year-olds they get the milk time, they get the nap time, and then there's only classes in the morning, and then by 2 o'clock with the free play and unstructured play, I'm not really teaching. So the parents start picking them up around 2:30, and then if there's a parent that's not working, it's fine. So so officially the kids are supposed to be out of the school at 2:30. Past 2:30, we're being like
This is the
daycare.
same in the bilingual school as well. Same sort of thing.
No.
Bilingual school?
No, in the EP bilingual school prior to the IB school, the parents can come till 4 o'clock.
Because
to
I
pick
mean,
them
it
up.
is hard. I mean, if you
Kindergarten,
haven't got
K1, we're talking.
Yeah,
so
but I mean, you've got so if you've got like a 3.5-year-old kid and the 2 parents are working, it's very convenient to drop
leave
off
them
at
there
8 and
sometimes
pick them
till
up at
5 o'clock.
5.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how do they manage that?
Yeah. Do you?
we have
encourage
what's
it,
called
obviously?
duty. So some teachers will stay late, and then we'll have a classroom where all the kids that are left
library
over.
or something, yeah.
And then a lot of them tend to be the teachers' children because they get free tuition at the school. So they'll stay late because the teacher's teaching. He or she cannot clock out till 4:30. So then, and sometimes they stay late, and so we have the kids waiting there.
Right. And is it the same in the UK?
Oh, it's more structured in
Kick
our
them out, right?
We don't, no. Well, it's very much more structured. Our school day starts at 8:30 and finishes at 3 o'clock. And that's it, across all the year groups.
So what happens at 3 o'clock? How do they get picked up by the parents?
Absolutely.
Not chauffeurs and cars.
No. It could be nanny, granddad, aunts, uncles. You know, we know who's obviously picking them up, not
Well,
a
they have
complete
to register
stranger.
who's picking them up, yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
Is that
And
because it's government school, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
yes.
so mine's private school.
Yeah.
So if we didn't offer that, then some of the parents will be like, well, then that's not conducive to the way I live my life, so I'll take my kids somewhere else.
But what we
So we have
do-
to be very flexible.
We do have lots of after-school clubs though as well, for the parents that obviously are working, so the
Right.
children can sign up for
Right,
until
we have that as
4:30,
well, but it
5
only
o'clock.
goes
Do
to
they have to pay for that?
Yes, it can be, but very small fee, but yes. And then teachers take it in turns to run clubs, art club, computer clubs,
Sure.
netball clubs.
So what about with regards to the teacher themselves, the evaluation, the appraisal? You mentioned earlier on that you get 3 times a year someone's observing you, etc. How does all that work? You know, let's start with the UK. You know,
Basically, our headmaster or the deputy head teacher will just come round and sit in on a lesson. They'll look through books. There's a big focus now on actually asking the children as well how their learning's coming along. So, you know, what have you been learning today? Do you enjoy your lessons? So it's not all just about watching me, because
and
obviously...
they evaluate and score, and
this is it, and then you can get some feedback from that afterwards.
that's constructive feedback. It's not like to beat you up.
No,
yeah?
no. So they want me to stay there in that job, so they want to give me positive feedback.
Because you actually there's a problem getting teachers in the UK
absolutely,
now. There's a shortage,
absolutely, and they might just give you some targets to focus on in your next teaching lessons. And
All right, and how about yourself between the bilingual?
Pretty
and
much the same, yeah. The principal or vice principal will come in and sit and just observe, take notes, and then feedback a couple days later.
And training, do they, you know, within every job, whether you're running your own business or whatever, you have to keep up to date with the technology and what's actually happening, and you have to be open to change. Yeah? So do you get regular training programs you're going through, or they say, well, here's a handout, or here's an email, or something like that?
In England, well, they used to be called Baker Days, but they're inset training days. So there'll be some days around the holiday time where we have to go into school.
Compulsory?
And, yes, they have to be done. Yes.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky to get a job with no IB experience. And now that I'm doing it, so we get a lot of meetings, we get training, and then we have workshops that we're supposed to do, maybe 2 a year. So they actually get an IB certificate as well.
Right. A big question. A lot of teachers, when people look at teachers and they say, "What a job!"
Cushy.
Yeah, you've basically been working and you get 2 months off or 3 months off a year. Yeah. Well, actually, a lot of people get 4 weeks off a year in the UK as a standard. Yeah. So I want to just basically address this point. What are you, what are you? How did you approach that when people say, "Oh, what a cushy job"? Now, what did you say your parents said?
Well, yeah, because both my parents were teachers, and this is the most common question about the holidays, of course. And they just said, "Well, it's not. It is and it isn't. They get a yearly salary divided by 12."
Right.
So they could have a higher salary for the months they work and nothing during the months they don't work. You could call it a cop-out, but it's not. It's a lump sum and divided by 12. Now, if they didn't want to be paid during their holiday time, then they'd get more per month.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So with that argument, you're not being paid for time off.
And a lot of teachers will argue if you
I'd go with that, Ange.
well, yeah, absolutely. If you break it all down, an hourly rate, because teachers will do 12-hour days, and they'll still take home marking and planning.
Well,
and
so
do
do
that at
people
home,
in business do that.
Well,
That's no
I know,
argument.
but then-
Well, I think that is an argument
I
because
don't.
when you're a manager, you're paid to manage. You're not on a
They're managing
on a
children.
structure. No, but if you look at an accountant,
Well-
let's say compare an accountant. An accountant has certain tasks to do, like a teacher has certain tasks to do, and they finish 9 to 5, and they get their money. A manager is not paid 9 to 5. Yeah, he's there to manage, and he manages within the hours to get the job done.
I think
So a manager is a different thing. There is no fixed hours, for a manager, in my personal opinion.
So all teachers are at management level then? Because you
Well,
put in
they're all
manage
extra
level of
children.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
accountants
Thank you, Ange. I was
They
saying
manage
we're-
children.
Manage
A
children.
head teacher will do more, because they're doing more planning.
They have more
supervision.
responsibility.
Precisely.
It's the responsibility.
Yeah, but the hours. Let's get back to the hours. This is going nicely now. Let's get back to the hours, right? The hours are everybody in any business, unless you're on a conveyor belt making shoes or something, clock in at 9, clock off at 5.
shoes?
There's no. Well, I just can't think of anything else. But it's New Year, for heaven's sake. So. Well, the point is that you put in all these extra hours. I know my wife works many extra hours than she's paid for, right?
Well, the thing
So
is,
that's not an excuse. We do extra hours.
I'm
It
not
comes
saying-
with a lot of jobs.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's just teachers that have these long hours. I'm not saying that at all. But it's obviously we do have those long hours, and it's the mental sort of worry and the planning and the thinking about what you're doing with these children and how
There's
they're
a
going
high
to succeed.
responsibility.
Because it's children as the
Sure,
subject
I mean,
matter.
Well, I think
Yeah.
We're
what we
educating
discussed
the
before.
future.
There was, this is how I understood it. Yeah. Basically, you're working from equivalent of 8:30 to 7:30, but actual hours at school, you're working from 8:30 till 4 or 3 o'clock.
Oh, well, the children
Cool,
leave
that's late.
The children leave at 3 o'clock, but I leave about 6, maybe 6:30 in the evening. We may have staff meetings that go on longer.
Okay.
So
And then you're from
7:30 to 4.
7:30 to 4. Yeah.
Sure.
But you said 11.
No, I
Or
finished teaching at
teaching.
11.
So what are you doing between 11 and 4:30?
Planning, watching the kids.
Right, supervision, etc.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Extra hours. Okay. So in addition to that, you've got staff meetings,
Meetings
right?
as well, yeah.
You've got training,
yes,
right? You've got marking,
Marking,
right? Which I must
Marking's
admit,
the
when I
big
did
one, isn't it?
guest lecturing, you do a 2-hour guest lecture, give an assignment, you'd be doing about 6 hours of marking, because you had to follow a criteria of the marking. You're not saying, well, I think he deserves a 6 out of 10 or whatever it is. You had to go follow a criteria. So you've got that. And then on top of that, you've got lesson plans, which may change all the time because you want to keep them interesting, you learn new
Absolutely.
things. So when you add it all up, you're looking at least a 40-hour week plus.
absolutely.
Would that be correct?
Sometimes more.
Yeah.
Right? So that balances out for the holidays. But when we say about the holidays, you're not actually getting these full holidays because you're actually having to plan before you actually are. I'm an evangelist, these guys. So you're actually having to plan before, correct?
Yes.
Before you got, so maybe you got a month, let's say 6 weeks off for the summer holidays, yeah? probably 2 weeks of them you're actually planning in advance at home.
Not if the curriculum hasn't changed.
No, if absolutely.
Then it's the same old, same old.
but
well,
it makes
there
change
is.
planning.
It does
there
get
is
easier
that.
every year. If you're doing the
Exactly.
same grade every year, it gets
Exactly.
easier, of course, because you
Absolutely.
build a lot of material that you can always fall back on different
Past-
things, and you
past
can mix it up, and
terms
so
and
you're
that,
never
yeah.
really stale.
Yeah, they always say
material.
that first year in teaching is really, really
Yes, 'cause
difficult.
you're building it. You're building your
absolutely,
course.
getting all the
Right.
resources
Sure.
ready. Yeah, so
Okay, so how do you feel about the schools and how they're preparing for each stage of life? So you go from kindergarten to primary to what age do kids start going to school in the UK?
You
4
mean to primary?
yes, 4 years old.
So the mandatory starting
yeah, 4 years old, turning
in
5.
the UK, do you know? Sorry, in Thailand?
In Thailand, it's K3, which would be 5 years old.
It's the same.
Right. Okay. So that's kindergarten, and then you go to
Sure.
primary, and you're preparing them for primary to go to secondary, and in secondary you're really preparing them for life, which could be university, technical college, apprenticeship.
Or a job.
And how do you think within Thailand, say it's general Thailand in your opinion as opposed to IB, and how do you think Thailand is actually preparing kids for each stage? You think it could be better, or just an opinion? Yeah.
Well, my current school for the IB program, it's really preparing the kids right from K1, even in toddler, because we're teaching them just like how to be respectful towards one another, how to just take care of themselves, brush their teeth, how to eat their lunch. So it's really pretty much teaching them just basic life skills that parents would be teaching them at home.
Yeah.
So we're doing it at school. So then,
You teach them how to eat noodles properly, because it's one of the most horrible things watching somebody eat.
well, pretty much. Sometimes I'm actually having to feed
Cut them
some
for
of the
them.
kids. Some of the kids can't even put on their own shoes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
and
it
I'm
starts
wondering,
early
like,
then,
what are the
so-
parents doing at home? Very little. And some of the kids are just brilliant. They're doing everything on their own, and they don't require much attention.
So from then on to the next, so into primary, they're sort of geared up with some sort of life skills.
Right,
Even
sure.
at that age. Then what happens in primary? Just then the education carries on with life skills, but more mature, I guess.
Sure. Well, in P4 that I've done 4 years, grade 4, when you were talking about, teaching sounds like such a cush job, I say try it.
Absolutely.
Because it's not just teaching, so to speak, again, trying to teach them a specific target or a grammar or something.
While
But
entertaining at the same time.
Entertaining and
Yes.
class
Yeah,
management.
yeah.
So
Keeping them
all of that
engaged.
comes in. Sure, it's a real mental brain drain, and that's
But the-
exhausting at times.
The difference is, within the Thai system and the IB system. Yeah. Do you think they're both preparing just as well or not?
I've taught at a basic Thai school, private, and no, there wasn't a lot of like life skills teaching. And then I taught at a 7 Habits school, which is the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People.
Wow. I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, by Stephen Covey. It was a
I think I've heard something.
yes.
about
Okay,
this,
so
yeah.
this was a 7 Habits school, so it did have some life lessons teaching as well in there, and it's a very good program. So you're having to mix that in with your regular teaching.
So what changes would you like to see within just as a summary of
I mean, I'm really full into
outside
the IB.
IB, because IB really falls into the same as you.
It is.
But
It is.
Similar.
Yeah.
But within the
Absolutely.
Thai system, just as an opinion, yeah, what would you like to see change within the?
Well, I
the
think
system?
number one would be resources, finances, because the government schools here are very underfunded.
Overcrowded as well. the
Overcrowded,
promotions,
underfunded, and so I think an honest investment into the educational system.
Within what, your computers, or do you think within the
Well, the whole
training?
thing.
Because all Thai teachers I've met are utterly committed to what they
They
do.
are,
yeah?
and they're highly regarded in the Thai society. We were talking about there's a sort of like it goes from the top, sort of from Buddha, from the religion
Right.
to the royal
king,
family,
to the monks,
and then
and
the
then
teachers are
teachers
there,
are
right?
very
They're there.
revered in Thailand,
Oh
sure.
yeah. So you've got it all from the teachers, but they're not getting funded enough now.
But funded within what? I mean, that's money.
better looking
I mean,
schools
you,
for
you
a
saw
start.
people get money. Well, I follow very much in the UK. They get a whole lot of money and they just chuck it at something, yeah, and it's just not really properly structured.
that's
They
like-
go way over budget. But so, what do you think they should be putting the money into? And should it be into the training, into the facility? What facility? What kind of thing? in
That's
your
a good
opinion?
question.
All the above, I would have said. Sorry about.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean something
It-
specific, so you can get your teeth into something. Yeah.
I mean, each department obviously would like, more books, more computers. So it is going back to resources.
Teaching up country, the schools up country, you don't see their classrooms, they're not air-conned, that's not so important, but maybe there's 50, 60 children in there. They've got old desks that are pre-World War II. I knew a story of a girl, she said her and her sister used to go to school and she would rub off all her homework on a piece of paper so that her sister could use that piece of paper the next day.
It's quite
Now,
extreme.
that's very extreme and probably not often the case, but you can imagine that that's where the money has to go into, is making the schools more schooly, more, well, I don't know, can't think of any words, but you
Joe?
know what I'm trying to say.
What do you think?
I think that they need to be more modern in their way
Yeah.
of thinking for education, different methods, right? Because in
training,
the well, in the Thai classrooms, typical Thai classroom, you have all your kids sitting like ducks in a row. There's no interaction. You feel like you're in a school. In my current school, it's more like you come into the classroom and it could be someone's living room. There's some carpeted area, there's a sofa, there's lamps, there's a lot of manipulatives for the kids to get their hands on and play with. I think the approach to education needs to change in Thailand. It shouldn't be so teacher-centered, writing on the board.
Parrot fashion type
Yeah,
thing.
and just like that. And it needs to be...
Okay. What about the UK? What changes would you like to see within the UK?
I think we're always trying to sort of rethink about how we can teach using more of the outdoor environment. So again, moving away from just look at the whiteboard and just copy things from roads.
Yeah,
so
we're also encouraged
it's-
to take our kids outside.
Absolutely, and problem
Yeah.
solving, and getting out there and using what they've learned. We can teach maths, we can teach adding and taking away, but okay, so what's the point in learning that? How can you use that? So, I had quite an interesting story recently where we had a problem with some money and the child just could not understand what the question was asking. And I said, you have some money and you go to a shop and you spend this money and how much do you get back? And he just looked at me. He said, well, we never use that. My mum uses a card, a credit card. Just as contactless
that's a good
society.
point.
That's a whole new argument and that's a whole new discussion.
But unless we go
yeah.
out in the environment
Yeah.
and we sort of show children, okay, you've got a credit card, right, you go to the shop and you buy this and you do this. And
So you should have said, you pay by credit card,
Yeah.
you've got that much on your balance sheet,
Yeah.
you pay that credit, how much
what's
is left?
You'll probably still say, well, mum does all that. So.
I learned quite fast in that one because when I was a kid, my sisters, and if they're watching, still don't forgive you for this, I'd get 10 pence and they would turn around and say, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 3 1 pences and a 2 pence. And I'd think, oh, that's more money because there's more of them. They take the 10 pence.
Oh, see? Life skills.
I think what we've gathered from this nice little chit-chat, thanks so much for joining us, was that there is more similarities than I thought there was.
Yes.
Now, whether that was because I was thinking negative about education in Thailand, which I wasn't, because I know so many private schools out there are maybe ahead of some Western schools. But on an average, it looks like you're more or less
I think you'll
compatible.
find that people who go into education and stay, they do it for... It's a purpose.
It's a vocation.
Absolutely.
No, a vocation.
vocation.
Sorry.
Not vac-
Yeah, I wasn't brought up right teaching. Yeah, vocation, right?
Vocation,
It's a
yeah.
vocation.
Absolutely.
Well, I think what I've gathered from this is what the amount of work both of you do within the schools from UK. I think UK can teach Thailand and reverse in certain things as well. But also, I think when we're talking about bilingual to international, I would actually like to see that the international schools, who make a lot of money, they actually participate in the education and improvement of the Thai schools. So why couldn't they share some of their knowledge with some of the Thai schools, even invite some teachers who are working in the public schools, if they're allowed to.
We do.
To
Our school
So you
come
do,
in
you do.
Good.
and pass on the knowledge to improve things. So there's more of a community of learning rather than you're going to IB, you're going to UK education or American system, and basically it's our domain, yeah, and we're not sharing. No, I think there should be something for the better good of the whole of the society of
Yes, I agree.
education
Absolutely.
and passing that.
Well,
back.
thanks
And
for
that's what I've
joining us
learned, yeah.
anyway. So, as I say, carry on teaching, because
Yes,
I think,
thank you very
as I say, it is a vocation, and
It
it's what
is.
you do, and you love doing it, and you're waiting for that light bulb moment.
Absolutely, that's what it's all
I
about.
love that phrase.
I know,
There you
well,
go,
use
a
that
light
again.
bulb
Yeah.
moment.
I hope you found that enjoyable. I certainly did. And we've got more spotlights on the way for you this year. And also we have, don't forget, our blind tasting, our out and abouts, and our normal chit chat when he does all the talking and I interrupt him. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and also to like and share. And we'll see you again.
And
on
please give
Bangkok
us some
Chit Chat.
comments. I want to hear some comments, please. Your opinion. Lots of teachers
yeah.
out there. Let's get a bit of dialogue going.
Yeah, yeah. All right then. See you next
See you
time.
later. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.